The history of medicine is filled with stories of strange tonics, outlandish remedies, and curious cures. My name is William Schmidt, and join me on today's episode of The Things We Fear as we dissect the world of weird medicine. Number 10. Dead mouse paste. The ancient Egyptians would mash a dead mouse into a paste and use it orally for toothaches. In some cases, the mouse was even mixed together with other herbs and even alcohol. Mice were also used to treat whooping cough, measles, smallpox, and even bedwetting. Number 9. Crocodile Dung. If you think condoms are annoying, wait till you get a load of this. In ancient Egypt, the most common contraceptive was crocodile dung. Dry dung would be inserted into the vagina with the hopes that it would soften and form an impenetrable barrier. Other contraceptives used back in the day included tree sap, lemon halves, cotton, and sea sponges. So hey, I guess if it might work, just shove it up there, right? UTIs must have been horrendous for these people. Number 8. Clysters. Clysters, the archaic word for enemas, became fashionable between the 16th and 19th centuries. Most wealthy people used them to treat constipation, which is reasonable, and it does work for that kind of issue. But they were also used to treat other ailments for which the practice is, well, useless. A typical clyster would contain warm water mixed with salt, baking soda, or soap. Some doctors added coffee, bran, herbs, honey, or chamomile to the mix. Clysters were enormously popular among the aristocratic society members. Louis XIV of France was said to have had over 2,000 of these during his rule. Talk about the seat of power. Number 7. Powder of sympathy. Even some modern-day treatments can seem strange, but in the 17th century nothing was stranger than Sir Kenelm Digby's powder of sympathy. Intended specifically for rapier wounds, the powder was made from dried earthworms, pig brains, rust shavings, and mummy dust. The powder was applied not to the wound itself, but to the offending weapon. Digby thought the concoction would somehow heal the wound through a process that he called sympathetic magic. Number 6. Arsenic. Arsenic is a well-known poison, but for centuries it was also used as a medicine. In Chinese medicine it is known as pi shuang. Arsenic was a key ingredient in many tinctures, including Fowler's solution, a purported cure for malaria and syphilis, which was used from the late 18th century to as late as the 1950s. Arsenic was also found in Donovan's solution, which was used to treat arthritis and diabetes. It was also even used in Victorian England as a cosmetic. Number 5. Vin Mariani. In 1863, Italian chemist Angelo Mariani came up with a healing tonic made from red wine treated with coca leaves. Known as Vin Mariani, the brew was a hit. Not surprising, since it would later be discovered that coca leaves contain cocaine. It was used by many famous figures such as Thomas Edison, Queen Victoria, Tsar Nicholas of Russia, Pope St. Pius X, and Pope Leo XIII, who even appeared in an ad for the tonic and awarded it a gold medal. The tonic later inspired John S. Pemberton, the creator of Coke. Number 4. Meth. To this very day, there may not be a single person on Earth who does not know who Hitler was. From the Second World War to the Jewish Holocaust, this terrible man was the figurehead of Axis powers from 1939 until his death on the 30th of April 1945. But one little-known fact about Hitler is that he was a major hypochondriac. His doctor would regularly give him injections of vitamins laced with meth. As one observer remarked, the injections helped keep Hitler fresh, alert, active, talkative, and cheerful, and the effects lasted long into the night. Albert Speer remarked that Hitler's later decisions in the war were influenced by the drug and contributed to Germany's loss in the conflict. Number 3. Paraffin Wax. Today, Botox and collagen are used to rejuvenate faces, but in the 19th century, doctors used injections of paraffin wax to smooth out wrinkles. It was also used as an early attempt at breast augmentation, but the practice soon fell out of favor because it caused hard, painful lumps known as paraffinomas. Number 2. Fart in a jar. We have all heard stories about the Black Plague, and none of them have ever been pretty, but this tops the cake in my opinion. In the 1600s, some doctors recommended that patients put their farts in a jar to help prevent exposure to bubonic plague. The logic went something like this. The plague at the time was believed to have been caused by a miasma surrounding the city of London, and breathing it in would cause the contraction of the disease. Doctors felt that if a patient could dilute the miasma with something equally potent, they would avoid contraction of the illness. So, following their doctor's advice, people tried to have something foul-smelling at the ready. Some took to keeping goats and other animals indoors to let them smell up the place, while others preserved their gas in jars. Sadly, this practice only served to increase the risk of infection, as rats and fleas thrive in dirty environments. And finally, at number 1, we have Mellified Man. Mellified Man was a legendary medicinal substance created by steeping a human cadaver in honey. It is recorded that Arabian men who knew that they were nearing the end of their lives could sacrifice themselves and give their bodies to be preserved in honey. It was believed that this act of selflessness would make the concoction twice as potent. The donor would stop eating any food other than honey, going as far as to bathe in the substance until his diet proved fatal. The donor's body would then be placed in a stone coffee filled with honey. After a century or so, the contents would have turned into a sort of confection reputedly capable of healing broken limbs and other ailments. This confection would then be sold in street markets as a hard-to-find item with a hefty price. Well, that ends our disgusting and eye-opening episode for this week. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more. While you're at it, leave a comment and tell us, what do you fear?